My girlfriend confessed to cheating. I wanted a real man, she sneered. My friend sided with her. I just smirked, grabbed my keys, and walked out. This morning, my phone blew up with 32 missed calls. The city lights blurred into streaks of color as I drove aimlessly through the streets, my mind replaying the scene over and over. Emily's words, sharp and cruel, echoed in my ears. I needed a real man, she had said, her voice laced with a venom I never knew she possessed. The betrayal stung, not just from her, but from my friends too. Mark, Alex, and Sarah, who I thought knew me better than anyone, stood by her side, their silence as loud as any condemnation. I found myself pulling into the parking lot of our favorite diner, a place where Emily and I had shared countless meals, laughs, and dreams. The neon sign flickered, casting a ghostly glow over the empty tables inside. I sat in my car, the engine idling, staring at the empty seat beside me where Emily should have been. The night air was cool, carrying the faint scent of rain that hadn't yet fallen. I stepped out, the crunch of gravel under my boots the only sound in the quiet night. The diner was closed, but I needed somewhere to go, somewhere to think. I walked around to the back, where a small park overlooked the river. Here the city's noise faded, replaced by the gentle rush of water against the shore. Sitting on a bench, I pulled out my phone, scrolling through old photos. There she was, Emily, with that smile that used to light up my world. But now, looking at her, all I felt was a hollow emptiness. I tossed the phone beside me, watching it land screen down on the damp wood. My thoughts wandered to the future we had planned. The house with the big windows, the trips to places we'd only seen in movies, the kids with her eyes and my stubbornness. It was all gone, vanished like smoke. I stood up, pacing back and forth. The betrayal wasn't just in her words or actions, it was in the realization that the life I thought I was building was built on sand. My friends, who had been my rock, had crumbled under the weight of her influence. The river flowed on, indifferent to my turmoil. I leaned against the railing, the cold metal grounding me. What now? What does one do when their world collapses? I thought about confronting them, about yelling, about demanding answers. But then, I remembered the look in Emily's eyes, that smirk. She had made her choice, and so had my friends. There was no point in fighting for something that was already lost. Instead, I decided to walk. I left the park, my steps heavy but purposeful. The city was still awake, its pulse beating through the night. I walked past the bar where we used to drink, past the bookstore where Emily loved to browse, past the gym where Mark and I would work out. Each place was a chapter of a book I was no longer reading. As dawn began to break, painting the sky in hues of pink and orange, I found myself at the edge of town, where the city began to fade into the countryside. The morning after, my phone was a beacon of missed calls, all from Emily. I stared at the screen, each notification a reminder of the betrayal. I felt numb, not just from the breakup, but from the betrayal of my friends. I decided to go for a walk, needing space to think. The city was waking up, the usual hustle and bustle providing a strange comfort. As I walked, the streets seemed to whisper the secrets of last night, each corner holding a memory I wasn't ready to face. I found myself at a small cafe, one we used to frequent together. The barista, recognizing me, gave a sympathetic nod. I ordered my usual, but the taste was off, tainted by the events of the night before. The coffee, once a comforting ritual, now tasted like ashes in my mouth, a bitter reminder of what was lost. Sitting there, I noticed a flyer on the wall for a local art exhibition. Art had always been my escape, a way to express what words couldn't. Maybe it was time to dive back into that world. The colors on the flyer seemed to call out to me, promising a refuge from the chaos of my thoughts. I remembered how Emily would tease me about my love for art, calling it my little escape. Now it felt like my only escape. I left the cafe, my steps taking me towards the gallery. The streets were alive with people, their lives seemingly untouched by the turmoil in mine. I passed by a couple holding hands, their laughter a stark contrast to my solitude. The sight stung, but I kept moving, driven by a need to find something, anything, that could fill the void Emily had left. The gallery was quiet, a stark contrast to the city outside. The silence was welcoming, almost like a soft blanket wrapping around my frayed nerves. I wandered through the exhibits, each piece speaking to me in ways I hadn't felt in a long time. There was a painting of a woman, her eyes full of sorrow, yet holding a fierce determination. It reminded me of how I felt, betrayed yet unbroken. Leaving the park, I felt a mix of emotions. The betrayal still stung, but there was also a sense of progress, a step towards healing. The conversation with Sarah had opened a door, not just to forgiveness, but to understanding the complexities
of human relationships. As I walked away from the park, my phone buzzed again. This time it was a message from Mark. "Jake, can we talk? I owe you an apology." His words were simple, yet they carried the weight of our fractured friendship. I paused,
looking out over the river, the water reflecting the now brightening sky. Mark's message was unexpected, yet it felt like another piece of the puzzle falling into place. I texted back, "Meet me at the old hangout spot in an hour." The walk to the park where Sarah and I had just parted ways was filled with a mix of apprehension and hope. The park was where we'd all hung out, where laughter had once filled the air, where secrets were shared under the shade of old oaks. Now it was a place of confrontation and possibly reconciliation. Mark was already there when I arrived, sitting on a bench, his usual confident posture replaced by a slouch of regret. He stood up as he saw me, his face a mask of concern. "Jake, I'm sorry," he began, his voice low, almost drowned out by the sound of the river. "I should have stood by you. Emily spun this web of lies, and I got caught in it." I sat down beside him, the bench feeling cold under me. "Why, Mark? Why did you believe her over me?" He sighed, running a hand through his hair. "She was convincing, man. She said you were controlling, that you didn't let her breathe. And then when she started crying, saying how you made her feel trapped, I didn't know what to think." The pain of his words was sharp, but I remembered Clara's advice. "People react in different ways to betrayal," she had said. I took a deep breath, the air crisp with the morning chill. "I understand, Mark. But you knew me. You knew us. How could you not see through her manipulation?" He looked down, his hands clasped tightly. "I was wrong, Jake. I let her manipulate me because I didn't want to lose her friendship. But in doing so, I lost yours. I'm truly sorry." The sincerity in his voice was palpable, and I felt the anger within me begin to dissipate, replaced by a weary acceptance. "I appreciate your apology, Mark. It's not easy to admit when we're wrong." We sat in silence for a moment, the river's gentle flow the only sound. Then, Mark spoke again, his voice tentative. "Can we try to rebuild what we had? I know it won't be the same, but I want to make amends." I looked at him, seeing the genuine remorse in his eyes. "We can try, Mark, but it'll take time. Trust isn't something you can just rebuild overnight." He nodded, relief washing over his features. "I understand. I'll be here whenever you're ready." As we stood up to leave, I felt a shift within me. The betrayal was still there, a scar not yet healed, but the path to recovery was becoming clearer. With each conversation, each step towards understanding, I was reclaiming pieces of myself, reshaping my life in ways I hadn't imagined before. Walking back through the city, I felt lighter. The streets, once heavy with the weight of my past, now seemed to offer new possibilities. I passed by the gallery again, the art exhibition still in full swing. The painting titled "The Betrayal" caught my eye once more, but now it didn't just reflect my pain. It symbolized my journey towards healing and growth. Для завершения мысли. It symbolized my journey towards healing and growth. Stopped, looking at the painting, feeling a connection not just to the art, but to the artist, Clara. Her story, her art, had given me a new perspective. Maybe, I thought, I could channel my own experiences into something meaningful, something that could help others navigate their own storms of betrayal. With this thought, I decided to reach out to Clara again, not just for therapy, but to discuss the possibility of collaborating on a project that could help others heal through art. I texted her, "Clara, I'd like to talk about a project. Can we meet?" As I waited for her response, I felt a surge of purpose. The confrontation with Emily had been the catalyst, but it was the conversations with Sarah and Mark and the insights from Clara that were guiding me towards a new path. The next day, Clara and I met at her studio. The space was filled with the scent of turpentine and the soft hum of creativity. She greeted me with a warm smile, her eyes reflecting the same kindness that had drawn me to her initially. "Jake, I'm glad you reached out," she said, gesturing to a chair. "What's on your mind?" I took a deep breath, feeling the weight of my recent experiences. I've been thinking about how art helped me process everything that's happened. I want to do something similar for others. Maybe an exhibition or a workshop where people can express their pain, their betrayal, through art. Clara's eyes lit up with interest. "That's a beautiful idea, Jake. Art therapy can be incredibly powerful. We could collaborate, perhaps create a space where people can come, share, and heal through their creations." We spent hours discussing the logistics, the themes, the potential impact. The more we talked, the more I felt like I was not just moving away from my past, but actively shaping a future that could benefit others. "I think we should focus on themes of betrayal, loss, and recovery," Clara suggested, her voice filled with passion. "We could have sections for different emotions, different stages of healing." I nodded, the idea taking root. "And maybe we can incorporate sessions where people can talk about their experiences, like what you did for me." Clara agreed, and we started sketching out a plan. The project would be called Healing Strokes, a place where the canvas would serve as a mirror to the soul, reflecting the pain and the journey towards healing. As we wrapped up, Clara looked at me, her expression serious yet hopeful. "Jake, this project, it's not just about helping others, it's part of your healing too. Remember, you're not just the artist, you're also the subject of your own masterpiece." Her words struck a chord. I realized that in helping others, I was also helping myself. The betrayal by Emily, the confusion from my friends, all of it was becoming the foundation for something new, something meaningful. Leaving Clara's studio, I felt a sense of direction I hadn't known in weeks. The city around me seemed different. Not just a backdrop to my pain, but a canvas for my new beginning. I walked back to my apartment, my mind buzzing with ideas. The betrayal had left scars, but now those scars were becoming the lines of a new narrative, one where I wasn't just surviving but thriving. The next few days were a blur of activity. I reached out to local galleries, community centers, and even universities to gauge interest in healing strokes. The response was overwhelming. People were eager for a space where they could express their deepest wounds through art, guided by someone who had walked a similar path. One evening, as I was finalizing the project details, my phone buzzed. It was a message from Emily. "Jake, I know I've hurt you, but I need to talk. Can we meet?" I stared at the message, the old pain resurfacing. But instead of the anger or sadness I expected, I felt a calm resolve. I replied, "I'm focusing on my healing now, Emily. Maybe one day, when I'm ready." I didn't need her apology or her explanations anymore. I had moved beyond the need for closure from her. My closure was in the art, in the project, in the new life I was building. As I put my phone down, I looked around my apartment, now filled, with sketches and plans for healing strokes. The betrayal had been a storm, but like Clara said, from the pieces left behind, I was building something stronger, something that would not only heal me, but could offer solace to others, with a sense of peace. I turned back to my work, the city outside my window now a distant hum, a world I was slowly but surely stepping away from. The betrayal had been a storm, but now in its wake I was finding a new path, one paved with the colors of my own creation. The days that followed were a whirlwind of preparation. Clara and I worked tirelessly, setting up the space for healing strokes. We transformed an old warehouse into a sanctuary of art, with canvases lining the walls, easels standing ready, and a palette of emotions waiting to be explored. Each brushstroke, each splash of paint, was a step towards healing, not just for me, but for everyone who would walk through these doors. As the opening day approached, my phone buzzed again, this time with a message from Alex. "Jake, I've been thinking a lot. I was wrong. Can we talk?" His words were like a soft echo of the past, a reminder of what was lost, but also what could be regained. I paused, the brush in my hand hovering over the canvas. Alex, like Mark and Sarah, had been part of my life, part of the fabric that had torn apart. But now, with healing strokes taking shape, I felt a readiness to confront the past, not with anger, but with an open heart. "Meet me at the gallery tomorrow," I texted back, feeling a resolve settle within me. The next day, the gallery was alive with the energy of anticipation. People from all walks of life, each carrying their own stories of betrayal and loss, began to fill the space. The air was thick with the scent of fresh paint and the quiet murmurs of shared pain and hope. Alex arrived, looking out of place among the artists and the emotionally charged atmosphere. He approached me, his expression one of regret and uncertainty. "Jake, I'm sorry," he started, his voice barely above a whisper. "I let Emily's words cloud my judgment. I should have been there for you." I looked at him, seeing not just the friend who had turned away, but a man who was trying to find his way back. "I understand, Alex. Betrayal can make us doubt everything we thought we knew." He nodded, his eyes reflecting the sincerity of his words. "I want to make it right, Jake. I want to be part of this healing process, not just for you, but for myself too." I gestured around the gallery, the vibrant colors, the raw expressions of pain and recovery. "This is what healing looks like, Alex. It's not just about moving on, it's about transforming our pain into something that can help others." We walked through the exhibits together, Alex absorbing the stories each piece told. It was as if the art was speaking to him, offering a path to redemption, not just from his own mistakes, but from the collective betrayal we had all experienced. As we stood before the betrayal, the painting that had first drawn me to Clara, Alex spoke, his voice low. This is what I felt, what we all felt. But looking at it now, it's not just about the pain, it's about the journey out of it." I nodded, feeling a kinship with him that I hadn't anticipated. "Exactly, and that's what healing strokes is about. It's about acknowledging the pain, but also about finding a way through it." The day passed with conversations, shared stories, and the soft sounds of brushes against canvas. People painted their sorrows, their hopes, their journeys of recovery. Clara moved among them, offering guidance, her presence a beacon of understanding and support. As the evening light began to fade, casting long shadows across the gallery, I felt a profound sense of accomplishment. Healing Strokes was not just an exhibition. It was a testament to resilience, to the power of art to heal, to connect, to transform. Clara joined me, her eyes reflecting the same satisfaction I felt. "You've done something remarkable here, Jake. This space, it's alive with healing." I smiled, the weight of the past weeks lifting. "We did this together, Clara, and it's just the beginning." Don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment if you enjoyed this story. This will help us create more engaging stories for you.